Hey everyone, welcome back. It's time for another deep dive. And you know what we're going deep on today? Battlestar Galactica. That's right. We're going back to 2004 when this reimagined sci-fi epic hit the screens and seriously shook things up. And helping us navigate this deep dive is an episode of the Retro Rewind podcast, which is just packed with behind-the-scenes goodness and thought-provoking analysis.
It's wild to think about how this gritty show landed right when Friends was wrapping up and Lost was just kicking off. It was a whole different TV landscape back then.
Yeah, 2004 feels like a lifetime ago.
Ah.
I mean, the world was still reeling from 9/11. There was this feeling of uncertainty in the air, this weight of war and survival. Do you think that played into Battlestar Galactica's success? I mean, did it tap into those anxieties?
Oh, absolutely. The show definitely channeled that post 9/11 energy, but it did it in a way that felt timeless too. It wasn't just about the moment. It was about those big questions of human nature and what it takes to survive when everything falls apart.
And that's where Ron Moore's vision really comes in.
Right.
He took the original series, which, let's be honest, was kind of campy, and turned it into this profound exploration of humanity.
Totally. And it's crazy to think it all started as a mini-series, like a one-off deal. Who knew it would spawn 4 whole seasons?
It's a testament to how much it resonated with people. And speaking of things that resonated, one of the things that always struck me about Battlestar Galactica was the look of it. The redesigned Cylons were terrifying. So different from the 70s versions. And that documentary-style filming, it was like watching a war documentary set in space.
Right. That handheld camera work, the quick cuts, it just pulled you in, made it feel so real, like you were right there on the Galactica with them.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
really felt the chaos, the tension. And it's interesting because when you think sci-fi, you often think all sleek spaceships and shiny tech.
Yeah.
But Battlestar Galactica stripped all that away and got right to the heart of what it means to be human in the face of impossible odds.
Exactly. It was about survival, identity, faith. It went way beyond the usual good versus evil space opera.
And the characters.
Mhm.
Oh, man. The characters. Like Admiral Adama, this hardened military leader forced to make decisions that tested his very soul. You could see the struggle in him, the weight of responsibility.
And President Roslin, I mean, talk about a character arc.
Right?
From school teacher to this powerful leader having to make these impossible choices, you saw her strength, but also the vulnerability.
And then there were the Cylons. I mean, starting out, they're these classic bad guys.
Yeah.
The enemy. But then the show does this brilliant thing. It makes you question everything you thought you knew about them.
Yeah, their whole evolution throughout the series was mind-blowing. They weren't just robots. They were individuals with their own beliefs and desires. They even had faith and love. Made you wonder who were the real bad guys after all.
It blurred the lines between us and them, made you think about what it really means to be human. And speaking of mind-blowing moments, we got to talk about some of those episodes. I mean, 33, that's season 1 premiere.
Oh man, 33. Pure adrenaline, the constant attacks, the feeling of being hunted. You were exhausted right along with the characters.
It set the tone for the whole series. Like, this is
Yeah.
not your average space adventure.
Yeah.
And then there was the Battlestar Pegasus storyline. That threw a whole other wrench into things.
That was a masterclass in contrasting leadership styles, Adama versus Kane. 2 very different approaches to handling a crisis.
It made you think about the limits of authority. What happens when pragmatism crosses the line into cruelty? How do you balance security with individual freedom?
Those are some tough questions. And then, of course, there's that bombshell when they reveal that some Cylons are living among the humans undetected.
Talk about a game changer. Suddenly you can't trust anyone. And it makes you question everything you thought you knew about the Cylons. What are they really up to?
It added this whole other layer of suspense to the show, and it forced the characters and the viewers to confront their own prejudices. Like, who is the enemy? What does it even mean to be human when the lines are that blurry?
And that brings us to the grand finale, the series finale,
Yeah.
which was, shall we say, controversial.
Yeah, some people loved it, others not so much.
I'll admit, I was a little let down. Felt like there were loose ends, unanswered questions.
But maybe that was the point, right? I mean, the show was always about challenging our expectations. It wasn't afraid to leave us with more questions than answers. It made us think.
And ultimately, I think that's what makes Battlestar Galactica so powerful. It's a show that sticks with you.
Yeah.
It makes you think about the big questions. It challenges you. It makes you feel. And that's something special.
It definitely left its mark. And that's what we're going to explore next, how Battlestar Galactica paved the way for a whole new era of sci-fi television. But first, let's take a quick break.
One of the things that always blew me away about Battlestar Galactica was how it tackled real-world issues. You know, heady stuff like war politics, religion, even AI.
Yeah.
But through this sci-fi lens.
And it worked. Right. It felt believable, even in this crazy space opera setting. Like the way they portrayed war, it wasn't just good guys versus bad guys. There was so much gray area. The humans were constantly making these tough choices, morally ambiguous choices. Oh, yeah, totally. Remember that scene in Bastille Day where Adama has to decide whether to risk everything to rescue those political prisoners? Ugh, talk about a gut-wrenching decision. There were no easy answers.
It's those moments that really got to you, made you confront those uncomfortable truths about war and the sacrifices that come with it. And like we were talking about before, it wasn't just the humans who were complex. The Cylons became so much more than just villains as the show went on.
Right. They had their own reasons for doing things, their own beliefs. Heck, they even had internal conflicts. Like, they weren't just this monolithic enemy, they were individuals. Remember Deanna Beers, the number 3 model?
Oh yeah, she was fascinating.
She became obsessed with finding the final 5, driven by this, like, spiritual longing. It was almost like a mirror of human faith.
And it totally flipped the script on who the enemy was and what it even meant to be human. And speaking of flipping the script, the show wasn't afraid to tackle religion either.
Not at all. I mean, they went there faith versus reason, the search for meaning in the face of suffering, the nature of God. It was all woven into the story so naturally.
And it sparked some interesting debates, right? Like President Rosalind's faith. Some saw it as a strength, others questioned if it was clouding her judgment.
It's a question a lot of us ask ourselves sometimes, especially in times of crisis. Where do we turn for guidance? What do we believe in?
Heavy stuff.
Yeah.
But so well done. And let's not forget about the way Battlestar Galactica was structured. That serialized storytelling. Man, it kept you on the edge of your seat.
Oh, absolutely. Every episode built on the last one giant puzzle box. And that mystery of the Cylons and their motivations.
Yeah.
Just when you thought you had it figured out, bam! Another twist.
Like when Baltar finds out his lover, Caprica 6, is a Cylon.
Mind blown. Right, talking about trust issues.
No.
It made you question everything. And then there was the constant threat of attack, the dwindling resources, those moral dilemmas. It was relentless.
It was. But even amidst all that darkness, there were these moments of hope, these glimmers of resilience, and even humor. Like when Chief Tyrol rallies the crew with that rendition of All Along the Watchtower. Oh yeah, gave me chills every time. It was a reminder that even when things are at their worst, the human spirit can still shine through.
Exactly. It's those moments, those little flashes of humanity that made Battlestar Galactica so powerful, so relatable,
Yeah.
and ultimately so hopeful.
And then, of course, we have to talk about the ending, that series finale. Still debated to this day.
Definitely divisive. Some loved it, some hated it.
But you can't deny it was ambitious. It didn't try to wrap everything up in a neat little bow. It left you with questions, lingering doubts.
Which, for a show like this, felt right. It forced you to confront the fact that life is messy. There aren't always easy answers or happy endings.
But even in the face of that uncertainty, there was still a sense of hope, a belief in the enduring spirit of humanity.
And that's what we're going to talk about next, Battlestar Galactica's legacy. How it changed the game for sci-fi television, and how its impact is still being felt today.
Okay, we're back. And for this final stretch of our deep dive, I thought it would be fun to put our Battlestar Galactica knowledge to the test. A little trivia, inspired by that retro rewind episode we've been geeking out over. Ready to play along?
Oh, I am always up for some trivia, especially when it involves Battlestar Galactica. Hit me with your best shot.
All right, first question. What was that iconic rock song our favorite pilot Starbuck loved to play on his guitar?
Oh, come on, that's too easy. All Along the Watchtower. Of course, the Jimi Hendrix version, naturally.
We got it. It's like the unofficial anthem of the show.
Right.
Perfectly captures that rebellious spirit and that sense of impending doom. Okay. Ready for round 2?
Bring it on.
All right. This one's a bit trickier. What was the next that human settlement that turned out to be a sneaky Cylon trap?
Ooh, that's a good one. Let me think. New Caprica.
Nailed it. It seemed like a beacon of hope at first.
Right.
And then, bam, total silent occupation. Talk about a turning point in the series.
It really showed how far the writers were willing to go to push the characters and the viewers to their limits, for sure. Okay, last trivia question. Let's see if you're a true Cylon expert. How many Cylon models were there in total?
Okay. Let's see. There were the original 7 plus the final 5. That makes 12. Right. 12 Cylon models.
You are on fire. A true Battlestar Galactica champion. Okay, now that we've had some fun, let's talk about the show's legacy, because it's a big one.
Battlestar Galactica proved that sci-fi could be so much more than just spaceships and laser beams. Right. It could be a vehicle for exploring these huge social and political issues, questions of faith, morality, even artificial intelligence.
It was way ahead of its time, and its influence is still felt today in shows like The Expanse, Westworld, even The Mandalorian.
Totally. It set a new standard for storytelling in sci-fi, and those
Okay.
visual effects, the character development, it raised the bar.
It showed that you could have action and heart, depth and excitement,
Yeah.
and it did it all while looking amazing. That documentary-style filming was revolutionary.
It made it feel so real, so gritty. You were right there in the thick of it with the characters, and then the music.
Oh, man. Don't even get me started on the music. Bear McCreary's score was incredible, haunting and beautiful, epic and intimate all at the same time.
The music was practically another character. It just added so much depth to every scene.
And you know what's crazy? Even though the show ended over 15 years ago, it still feels relevant today, especially in a world that's becoming more and more dominated by technology.
Right. The show's exploration of AI is almost prophetic. It makes you think about the implications of what we're creating. What happens when machines become smarter than us?
It's a question that's becoming more and more urgent, and Battlestar Galactica didn't shy away from it. It presented these complex ideas in a way that was both entertaining and thought-provoking.
It made you question your assumptions and engage in these important conversations about the future.
So to wrap it all up, Battlestar Galactica wasn't just a TV show. It was a phenomenon. It challenged us, it moved us, and it continues to spark debate and conversation even today.
It pushed the boundaries of television, and its impact will continue to be felt for years to come.
Absolutely. Well said. So there you have it, folks, our deep dive into Battlestar Galactica. We hope you enjoyed the journey.
And if you want to delve even deeper, be sure to check out that Retro Rewind podcast episode we mentioned. They've got some great insights that we didn't have time to cover.
And as always, let us know what you think. What resonated with you? What questions are still swirling around in your head? Hit us up on social media. We love hearing from you, so say we all.